from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening. This is the National News Telecast. I'm Movin Hettiarachi.
A very good evening to you. I'm Sharifa Tahir. Let's take a look at the headlines.
The President reiterates that cricket could be restored in the same manner as the economy. A tax file has to be presented when registering a vehicle purchased through undeclared income. A Supreme Court verdict saying that former Presidents Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Mahinda Rajapaksa, along with former Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa, were responsible for the economic crisis. Bodies of 4 persons who disappeared in the earth slip in Balangoda have been recovered. Ministerial subcommittee is empowered to take decisions regarding the removal of cricket ban and the introduction of tournaments. The World Health Organization says that Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza is nearly a cemetery. Now to those and more stories in detail. On today's top story, President Ranil Wickremesinghe underscored his desire for a resurgence in cricket in the country, linking its revival to the broader economic recovery.
He made these remarks in response to a journalist's inquiry during a meeting with heads of media organization at the Presidential Secretariat this afternoon. The purpose of the meeting was to brief media heads on the budget 2024 with a representation from print and electronic media. Expanding on the significance of this year's budget, the President asserted its transformative impact on the nation's economy and politics.
Mr. President, you just said that, just talking a bit about politics here, you just said that you were a lone man after you became the president here. As you know, we're heading for a presidential election next year. What would be your future plans? Are you planning to recontest the presidency next year? And where your UNP is concerned, where do you see that going?
UNP wants to contest next time, and they hope to win because they're the only ones who spoke the truth, and they had to go out of politics. I think that's going to be their strongest point, and a lot of new faces. Well, there are other parties also in government and in the opposition contest. My first job is to ensure that we have terminated the bankruptcy. So once we have terminated the bankruptcy, we are introducing new plans. At that stage, we have to decide what is going to happen. But I come here to get all your support to terminate the bankruptcy.
And if you are successful in doing that, are you going to contest for the presidency yourself?
What do you think I should do?
Of course.
I am asking you.
If I answer now, I think I'll get a public backlash. So I would prefer
What
an
is
answer from
the
you.
answer?
I mean,
Huh?
yeah, I guess why not? Why not? You've been
So why should there be a public backlash?
No, I didn't mean it like that. But I would like to know what your personal plans are.
I said no, I'll wait till it's over. My job is to turn the economy around. We have come very close to it. And I've also introduced, which I want to do it without politics, a new economy. Let's debate on it, where we are going. Thereafter, let's see what we are doing.
Mr. President, you assured the plantation sector that you will make them tea small holders, to have plot of land. They will do their own tea cultivation and supply to the tea factory. But how that is possible with the regional plantation companies owning the land? What process do you need to take to do this? It's very difficult, that's what we know.
You have misunderstood me. Firstly, I said we are going to make them outgrowers.
Yeah.
Already some of the companies are trying out the outgrower scheme. I want all the companies to try out the outgrower scheme, and then we start negotiating. Some of the companies feel there is no option but to go to the outgrower scheme. Some are a bit reluctant, but I want everyone to be outgrower because we are changing the whole landowning pattern. Now we have done away with the final remnants of the wasteland ordinance because even the government officials didn't want to give freehold to the people. I mean, the British took away the freehold lands we had. Now I am only saying that the entitlement part of the government lands can be at least given to those who have been given LDO permits. As far as the request for land, that's by new people. I am talking of those who have got LDO permits and who are now in charge of it. You might as well let them have ownership of the land. What can we do with it? We can't take it back. So we are changing the pattern. For the first time we are giving ownership. As far as the land is concerned, we have said wherever there's forest, there's been a difference of opinion with about the forest lands. I said we go by the 1985 map. If it was a village, it is a village. If it's forest in 85, it stays as forest. Now that is being worked out. Many of the MPs have gone there. They are working that out. As far as the Kurunduvihara is concerned, both the priest in Vaunia met me together with the Hindu, Muslim and the Catholic priest, and they said, they can come to an arrangement. I have asked the police, if outsiders come to disturb it, to take action. I mean, basically it's like anywhere else. But we are working with that. Now look at the fact that I have to give more powers to the district, provincial education committee boards, provincial agriculture and modernization boards, provincial tourist boards, that we are making into export industry, so anything under 600 million turnover comes under there. So that applies to the north as well as the rest of the country, and I am regularly meeting with the members of parliament and sorting this out. Now things are moving forward. That is all that I have to say. And whatever it is, the situation here is much better than in Gaza.
Many people expected, I think, more tax proposals in the budget, but it was not so. So how optimistic are you about the revenue projections of the government and financing the budget, especially with the salary increases and all?
I think we had a 55% increase in revenue collection, and we are working on improving the revenue collection itself. Addition to the government, the Ways and Means Committee is also there, and they made some very useful suggestions which we want to look at. It will take about 3-4 years for the full this thing to come in, but we've just started on it. Once we bring the revenue authority, then we'll reorganize all the revenue agencies. The secretary can talk about it further.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe has entrusted a ministerial subcommittee the powers to discuss and take a decision on the removal of cricket ban imposed on Sri Lanka by the International Cricket Council. The committee has also been given the authority to look into the issue of Sri Lanka being deprived of engaging in cricket tournaments. The President's Media Division has announced that the relevant decision has been taken at a cabinet meeting. The subcommittee was appointed by President on the 6th of this month. The committee is headed by Minister Ali Sabrian, comprised of members Minister Manusha Nanayakkara, Tiran Alas and Kanchana Wijesekara. It has also been decided that if any interim committee are to be appointed in the future, the approval of the cabinet is essential for that purpose. Meanwhile, the President Minister of Sports, Roshan Ranasinghe, in a communique said that the media release issued by the President's Media Division regarding Sri Lanka cricket incident was not accurate. The communique of the President's Minister further said that neither a decision was taken for nor a discussion conducted regarding the appointment of an interim committee at the cabinet meeting. A panel of appeals court judges comprising of Justice D.S. Samarakon, Justice Neil Iddavela has been named to examine the petition filed by Minister of Sports against the interim ban order suspending cricket interim governing committee. The new bench of judges has been named upon declarations made by the President's Court of Appeal Judge Justice Nishanka Bandula Kararatna and Justice Dhammika Ganepola that they would be withdrawing from the panel of appeals court judges named to look into the petition filed by Minister of Sports. Minister of Sports Roshan Ranasinghe has arrived at the Department of Criminal Investigations today to file a complaint against regarding the sport of cricket and the threats posed on his life. Chairman of Selection Committee Sri Lanka Cricket Pramod Wickremesinghe, issuing a media release, said that the members of the cricket team which bore the World Cricket Crown as a member of the cricket team which bore the cricketing world crown to Sri Lanka in 1996, he was extremely grieved and shocked by the tragic situation faced by Sri Lanka cricket at present. He further points out that great threats have befallen the future of cricket of Sri Lanka due to the ICC ban on the country. The chairman of the selection committee also says that the order to restore the situation, all those who love cricket must band together to overcome the differences. He also said that the present tragedy of Sri Lanka cricket is an outcome of the multi-pronged conspiracy plan that had been implemented in different levels for a long period. Pramod Devikramasinghe adds that he has come to a decision based on his experience and observation as a member of Sri Lanka Selection Committee for the past 2.5 years. The ICC cricket ban was a result of such activities. The media release of the Selection Committee chairman also says that an ulterior motive behind the conspiracy were to fulfill personal ambitions.
Debate on the second reading of the budget, which was presented yesterday, has commenced in Parliament today. It will be conducted till the 21st of this month. We now present the opinions expressed by government and opposition people's representatives at the debate, which commenced today. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that it appears that the proposals presented in the budget for 2023 have not been implemented. He further said that the success of the budget for next year, which was presented, could be evaluated only based on the progress of the work proposed in the previous budget. State Minister Dr. Ranjit Siambalapitiya said that in the fourth quarter of 2022, the economic growth rate was at -12.4. He added that, however, in the second quarter of 2023, it was at -3.1. The State Minister further said that they are now talking about the fourth quarter of 2023 and expressed optimism of reaching a positive figure. He further said that in December of 2022, the foreign reserves were at $1,898 million. By September of 2023, it has risen to $3,500 million. The inflation was at 51.7% in January of 2023, but it has fallen to 1.3% in September 2023. He added that therefore nobody could say that the special positive features in the budget had not contributed for such an improvement within a period of 9 months. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that he, along with Prime Minister and the opposition members, had previously submitted a complaint stating that a grave error was committed in presenting proposals of the budget reports. He further said that at that time, he commented on the funds allocated for teacher training programs. The minister further said only 84 billion rupees out of the 1,000 billion rupees reserved for this purpose was spent, but the progress was 98%. Parliamentarian Iran Vikramaratne said that there is truth in what the Minister of Finance had stated regarding the country becoming bankrupt due to politics based on promises. He added that, however, the opposition should not be blamed over the country becoming bankrupt. Parliamentarian Harinya Amarasuri said that 10,000 rupee salary increment has no meaning as the consumer item prices are still at a higher level. Therefore, she added that due to the high cost of living, the salary increment has no effect. State Minister Kanaka Herath said that in the recent past, trade unions have been campaigning for increased salaries and cost of living allowances. They have also requested not to impose more taxes in order to balance the budget. All these factors must be taken into consideration. Parliamentarian Tisatha Nayaka said that the inefficient nature of the government spending is shown by the imposition of a tax of 49 rupees and 75 cents on sugar. Minister Nalin Fernando said that if there is any fraud in sugar, Parliamentarian Harsha De Silva could contact the relevant officials and request for an investigation. Minister Mahinda Amravira said that the country was without a Prime Minister for several days and the post of Prime Ministership was offered to the opposition leader and also to Anuruddha Kumara Dissanayake, but they have refused to take over the post, pointing out several conditions. The minister further said that they did not take over not because they were not fond of becoming the President or the Prime Minister, but only because they were incompetent to undertake such an important task.
Several media briefings which declared the opinions of several experts in the field of finance regarding the 2024 budget were held today. Many experts participated in the budget media briefings organized by the Sri Lanka Chartered Accountants Institute. The objective was to examine and analyze the complexities in the national budget of 2024. President of Sri Lanka Chartered Accountants Institute, Sanjay Bandara, Dean of Faculty of Taxation Studies, were among those who attended the meeting.
When we see the budget which relate to the tax matters, there are hardly any tax changes, only very few tax changes. I think the government is trying to cover the main tax revenue increase by way of increasing the VAT rates and remove a lot of tax exemptions in the VAT. Anyway, first we'll go through the proposals what they have made. Now this table, of course, Sarah also covered. Anyway, this is Now, by seeing these figures, every year we are running with the budget deficit. We are planning for a lesser budget deficit. At the end, we are ending with a higher deficit. Anyway, as per the budget speech, almost 60% of the government public sector expenditure is to be covered with tax revenue. Obviously, government need money for their public servants remuneration and a lot of other welfare, because we are a country who is looking for a lot of welfare from the government. Therefore, definitely the government needs more and more money. Then, when they increase the taxes, our situation in general public, we are left with nothing for survival of our lives. That is the situation. When we earn money, if we are earning more than about 300,000 a month, we are paying on excess, we are paying 36% tax. When we see this 36% tax and the leftover 64%, we are really get upset with this tax payment, but can't help. Government need money.
Media briefing on the budget of 2024 was held at the Central Bank of Sri Lanka today. The meeting was focused on the long-term expectations and the current needs of the budget.
Following this budget, the next critical milestone would be the next steps in the process of external debt restructuring. Sri Lanka has asked its external creditors to accept significant losses in their holdings of Sri Lankan debt. Creditors will be keeping a close eye on this budget to assess whether Sri Lanka is keeping on its commitments in establishing fiscal consolidation as the country's contribution towards achieving debt sustainability. Sri Lanka has already provided all groups of creditors with indicative restructuring scenarios that will enable the achievement of the debt reduction targets set by the IMF. That is the reduction of debt to GDP ratio from 128% of GDP in 22 to less than 95% of GDP in 2032, reduction of gross financing needs from 34.6% of GDP in 22 to less than 13% of GDP on average during 32 period, and restricting external debt service to GDP from 9.4% in 22 to less than 4.5% in 27-32 period. It is now up to the external creditors to come to an agreement with Sri Lankan authorities on a debt treatment that help achieve these targets. China Exim Bank has already come to an understanding with Sri Lanka regarding such a debt treatment. The next step would be for the official creditor committee, co-chaired by Japan, India, and France, to provide a similar understanding. We are very hopeful that this will be materialized soon. At that point, the IMF will be able to assess whether the debt treatments are sufficient to meet the targets and whether they meet the requirements of comparability of treatment. This would enable the IMF Executive Board to approve the first review and unlock the next tranche of financing. The budget would need to be in line with agreed macroeconomic reform parameters to ensure both the IMF and external creditors are happy to proceed. The continuity of the IMF program and debt restructuring process is crucial to ensure global confidence in the Sri Lankan economy, enabling the country to continue to engage in trade finance and regular financial market transactions.
The Indian Revenue Staff Officers Association says that a tax file should be presented at the registration of a vehicle purchased through an undeclared asset. This was disclosed at a media briefing on the budget 2024. Secretary to the Indian Revenue Staff Officers Association, J.T. Chandana, said that there could be a tax if the vehicle is to be purchased from an existing income or from an undisclosed source. Those who are in the taxable limit but fail to pay taxes, then they will have to concede to the conditions. He also said that those who use luxury vehicles such as Mercedes, BMW and Jaguar use a massive spending. Such vehicle owners should be included in the taxation system.
The second national conference of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramana will be conducted on the 15th of December at Sugathadasa Indoor Stadium. A discussion pertaining to the holding of the conference was held at the Sri Lanka Pojana Peramana headquarters in Nelumawatha under the leadership of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and national organizer of the Peramana Basil Rajapaksa. District leaders and parliamentarians of the party were also present. A discussion of the budget presented yesterday was also taken place. Parliamentarian Mahinda Nanda Alutgamage said that they must not forget the plight of the country at the same time last year. The oil queues that prevailed are no longer visible. People were in extreme poverty without enough to eat. He added that under such circumstances, it is commendable to present a more constructive budget at present. Minister Keheli Rambukwalla said that the budget should have been looked into in a more progressive manner, and he added that Samruddhi allowance has also increased threefold. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa said there are positives and negatives in the budget and they would support the positive aspects. Overall, there is nothing wrong in the budget and it could be implemented on the ground level. Parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa said that they would like to know from the government and the President as to how the budget proposals are to be implemented.
State Minister Shehan Semasinghe says that the recently announced budget for the upcoming year places particular emphasis on addressing the needs of the government employees, impoverished and economically vulnerable families. Additionally, a special focus has been directed towards the upliftment of small and medium enterprises. He communicated these priorities during his participation in today's press briefing at the Presidential Media Centre under the theme Collective Path to a Stable Country. State Minister Shehan Semasinghe says that the budget unveiled for the fiscal year 2023 following President Ranil Wickremesinghe's appointment as the Minister of Finance stands as one of the most formidable budgets in the nation's history. Faced with the daunting backdrop of a severe economic recession prevailing up to 2022, the circumstances of presenting a budget in 2023 were notably challenging. Nevertheless, under the leadership of President Ranil Wickremesinghe, the government rose to the occasion and accepted this formidable challenge. Building upon the stability achieved, the government is now successfully implementing the government program for the year 2024, propelling towards the envisioned economic objectives. Had the government chosen to adopt a populist approach similar to the opposition during that period, the current state of the country might not have reached its present condition. Despite facing persistent accusations from the opposition, especially concerning the 2023 budget, the government remains resolute in its commitment.
4 bodies of members of the same family found missing after their house experienced a landslide have been recovered from Gawarahenna in Balangoda 2 days after the incident. The house was subjected to a landslide during heavy showers on the 12th night. The bodies were brought to Balangoda Hospital post-mortem examinations after the relatives identified the bodies. The dead have been identified as Chaminda Sumat Kumara, S. Sirialata, Thamodi Satsarani and Vimalsa Satsarani.
Parliament sources say today's COPE committee meeting was heated up due to numerous chatterings between heads of Sri Lanka cricket and parliamentarians over frauds and irregularities in the Sri Lanka cricket. Several parliamentarians have questioned over spending millions of rupees to maintain a large group of officials and actresses who have gone to Australia on a T20 tour. It was disclosed that the Sri Lanka cricket had borne a cost of more than 600 million rupees on the tour. The committee has decided to convene heads of Sri Lanka cricket for 3 more days before the committee. A Supreme Court verdict says that former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and former Finance Ministers Mahinda Rajapaksa and Basil Rajapaksa were responsible for the country's economic crisis. The court decision adds that they have violated the fundamental rights. A 5-member panel of Supreme Court judges headed by the Chief Justice Jayantha Jayasuriya upon examination of 2 fundamental rights petitions filed by a group including former President of the Sri Lanka Chamber of Commerce Chandra Jayaratne have decided that the fundamental rights of the law have been violated also by the former governors of the Central Bank Ajit Nibad Cabral, Professor W.D. Lakshman, former Secretary to the Ministry of Finance S.R. Artigala, former President's Secretary P.B. Jasundara and members of the Monetary Board of the Central Bank.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says that new opportunities have to be created to attract more international investments, targeting the speedy economic growth. He has made these remarks at a meeting when 10 newly appointed Sri Lankan ambassadors at the temple trees were met. The Prime Minister has added that envoys should take their initiatives in this connection. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena added that the government has focused attention to enhance trade and investments and that it is necessary to maintain contacts with host governments. Leading business institutions, investors, chambers of commerce and ambassadors have to fulfill the task. Parliamentarians Yadamani Gunawardena, Prime Minister's Secretary Anuruddha Dissanayake also attended the event.
Program to educate on the new lottery of the Development Lotteries Board named Supiri Dana Sampatha was held in Ampara today. Chairman of the DLB Ajit Naragala was also present. Chairman of the Development Lotteries Board Ajit Naragala said that the lottery, which brings the highest cash prize in Sri Lanka's lottery history, has been presented to the market. The Supiri Dana Sampatha lottery will be popularized among the general public through the sales representatives throughout the island.
Ministry of Defence says they are ready to face any threatening situation as a result of the existing bad weather condition. The Meteorology Department says the disturbances in lower atmosphere near the island continues to remain due to the impact of the low pressure zone developing in the southern western Bay of Bengal region. 34,348 persons belonging to 9,280 families in 15 districts have been affected by the inclement weather. Our correspondent says protective bands of 2 lakes in Vaunia have been broken due to heavy rain. However, defence divisions have temporarily repaired the breached walls at the request of the Vaunia District Secretary.
State Minister Kanaka Herath requests youth and entrepreneurs living in the country to fulfill their responsibilities on behalf of the country by joining the DigiCon 2030 program, which would become a strength to the country's economy. He made this request at the opening of the Global Entrepreneur Week.
The Global Entrepreneurs Week, which began yesterday, is being celebrated with the participation of more than 200 countries. Many companies, organizations and institutions are also taking part in the event at various locations in the island. Seminars and conferences on innovation, enterprise, education and digital as well as policy programs are scheduled to be conducted. Another objective is to strengthen and evaluate the new creators of the projects. State Minister Kanaka Herath said that they are requesting the educated youth who are leaving the country and the entrepreneurs to join the program and be a strength to the country's economy. We'll be back with foreign news after a short break.
Prima Kutumi, Pantamai. Prima Kutumi.
Welcome back. We move on to news overseas now. Gaza's biggest hospital is nearly a cemetery. The World Health Organization has warned, with bodies piling up inside and outside. There's been fighting close to the hospital in recent days and the facility is surrounded by tanks, a contact has told our reporter in Gaza. The Israeli military has repeatedly accused Hamas of having a command center underneath Al-Shifa. Both the facility and Hamas deny this. There is particular concern over the survival of premature and newborn babies, with power cuts making it impossible for hospital staff to use equipment such as incubators. The Israeli Defense Forces says it's the process of coordinating the transfer of incubators to Gaza. A UN spokesperson also says 45 kidney patients needing dialysis at the facility can't be treated properly due to lack of power. Palestinian health authorities say that 11,000 people have been killed in Gaza, of whom more than 4,500 were children. In the meantime, rescue workers have battled to reach 40 Indian workers trapped inside a collapsed Himalayan highway tunnel for almost 60 hours. Rescue workers are drilling through debris to fix a wide steel pipe which they hope can be used to pull the men out. Authorities said that the trapped men are safe and healthy and are being supplied food, water and oxygen through a pipe. Officials are also in regular contact with them. The 4.5-kilometer tunnel, which is being built in Uttarakhand state on a national highway that is part of the Char Dham Hindu pilgrimage route, caved in around 5:30 a.m. on Sunday.
Terima Kutumi Pantamai.
Now to sports news, we are looking at cricket. The World Cup has moved on to the semi-final stage, and the first semi-final of the Cricketing World Cup will be between New Zealand and India tomorrow.
The match is scheduled to start at 2 p.m. Sri Lanka time at the stadium in Mumbai. India comes into the match as an unbeaten side competing in 9 matches in the group stage. The New Zealand is in the 4th place on the points table. Meanwhile, the group including Aravinda de Silva will be felicitated with the ICC Hall of Fame honorary award. The other cricketers who will receive the award include Indian cricketer Virendra Sehwag and Indian female cricketer Dana Edulji. The second semi-final of the World Cup one-day cricket tournament will be played between Australia and South Africa on the 16th.
Terima Kutumi Pantamai.
That's it for tonight's English News Telecast. Thanks for joining us.